Welcome to the Business Spotlight Podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today on the show, I have Loree Tamayo, founder of Yesterday's Gone, as my guest. We're going to be learning about her journey to business ownership, best practices that she's learned, and challenges that she's faced to give you that inside look to what it's like to build and operate a business. Welcome, Loree. Thanks so much for being on the show. Looking forward to talking to you today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Do you want me to tell you a little bit about myself and about what we started?
Yeah, so yes, take us back as far as you'd like. Share a bit about yourself and what you built.
Great, great. Yes, for years I was a very successful businesswoman. I have a healthcare company, my own business that goes all over the state of Texas, helping people to run rural healthcare hospitals and businesses. But what people didn't know about me, while it looked like I had it all together, was I was surviving, and I have survived an abusive relationship. So one day I found myself leaving that abusive relationship and telling my father and mother that I was leaving. And my dad patted me on the knee and said, "Honey, it's going to be easy for you because you don't have any kids, you've got a successful business, and you've got plenty of money." And I remember thinking, wow, this is the most awful thing I've ever been through. And then I thought, well, it could be worse. And for most women, the sad part about it is worse. They can't leave, or if they do leave, they get to live in a substandard lifestyle, many times in a car in a parking lot. And I just knew that whenever I finally healed from what had happened to me, there was going to be something that had to be done about that. So for me, I have this healthcare company I've had since 2009, and we've helped save many, many rural healthcare institutions from bankruptcy and from poor operations. And I used 50% of my net income to start this women's shelter. And that has been sort of the thing that for me has been my legacy and has been something that allowed me to have my pain have a purpose. Um, and being the businesswoman I am, I decided I didn't want to just be reliant on grants and donors. I wanted to create another business that would help fund the nonprofit called Defining Tomorrow. So, of course, you can see my play on words. Yesterday's gone, and we're defining tomorrow. What Defining Tomorrow is I've written 3 books and about to be a 4th book. 2 of them are workbooks, and we help people get better from abuse and trauma. So that's a little bit about us and how I started everything.
Well, thank you for sharing your backstory and like the companies and the obviously the passion and purpose you have with the work you do. I really am excited to dive into this conversation. So let's look at so when did you start Yesterday's Gone?
I started it. I bought the property in 2021, and I used my own money to develop this 7-acre property and buy 4 tiny homes and build the roads, put in the fences, the security system, all this stuff. So I finished it in 2023. I formed the nonprofit in 2023, and I took my first woman in May of 2024.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, how many is it units or tiny houses?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
We
curious.
have, yeah, we have 9 tiny homes, which mean we can serve probably 20 people. But the amazing thing is they live with us for up to a year. So in 2025, we provided over 4,317 safe night stays. And the other thing that's interesting about us is we take animals. And so we provided over 1,400 safe night stays for these women's pets that also are displaced from the abuse and trauma that they've gone through.
Wow, I think that's incredible. So now I'd love to learn about your like the team that makes this thing function besides yourself. So tell me about your team, especially so in a nonprofit world, it's a yeah, what's your team look like in that?
Yeah, yeah, it's so different. I can tell you that literally I've been in business myself for so many years, and so this is one of those businesses that you can't predict. It's not easy to forecast. I've often told many people this is the hardest thing I've ever done because in my healthcare business, I have contracts. I have consulting contracts. I can estimate how much my profit's going to be each month, which allows me to then estimate how much staff I utilize. So when you go into a nonprofit, you can go upon history, but you can't, your historical analysis of gifts and grants don't always translate year to year. And so it's very interesting how that works, and you have to be very agile to manage everything. And you know, you have to have and wear many hats. So um, I have basically three full-time employees. And then myself, I'm running two other businesses and I'm part-time running this business, even though I run it full-time and I don't really take a salary. So um, you've got, people that are doing things out of passion. You've got three people running things for money and passion. And then you have people that are volunteers that do things for free. So I have three full-time employees, two part-time people, and then a lot of different volunteers that are out there helping
Okay.
us, shape the way.
Okay, definitely. Now, I'm curious too, especially with how you're growing, where do you see the nonprofit going in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, we've grown at a tremendous rate. Um, I hope, we got a property given to us across the street. Um, it's about 5 acres, but it has more development possibilities. So we hope in the next 3 to 5 years we will develop that property across the street. And instead of just having 9 homes, we'll have 30 homes for women and children and pets to begin their journey. We don't just provide them a place to live. That's the one thing I always love to emphasize is if I just give you a place to live and I don't fix why you got in that place in the first place, then I'm just wasting money and you're just going to repeat the cycle. 2/3 of our budget is spent on reprogramming these women and their children, giving them counseling, giving them life skills, and spending a lot of time on rewiring their brain because otherwise we're just wasting money if we don't stop the cycle of abuse that they will fall back into without help. So, being able to help more women is great. Being able to have more homes is great. And just being able to stop that cycle is very important to us. But of course, that all costs money. And so hence why grants and donors are very important, but also why I said, I'm going to run a business that supports this because I don't want to always rely on the ebb and flow of the whims of donors and the whims of grantors. So creating a lucrative business, speaking business, webinar business, workbook and book business, remote support group, that we charge nominally for, but we charge for, can really help make a difference for yesterday's gone. For example, if we do 1,000 remote support groups, that brings $100,000 of net income into yesterday's gone from defining tomorrow. So you can see the little bit that can change, a nonprofit's world.
Definitely. And I really like how you've structured the uh how one is helping the other and they're kind of feeding in a really positive way to grow both of them. And now tell me a little bit more about uh the programming you have for women. Like the you said there's different opportunities for counseling and just like kind of like teach a woman to fish or you're teaching
Yeah.
them skills. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes. So we provide daily life coach services. That life coach is like a mom with a teenager, is the way I always describe it, even though the women are average age of 30. They She teaches them how to do things. She doesn't do it for them. She supports them while they do it. For example, we have many women that have to use our vehicles on property. And when they use our vehicles, they are required monthly to do inspections. They have to check the fluids, the tires, they have to take it in for oil changes, they have to keep track of their mileage. And if something breaks down, they have to set up the appointment to provide the oil change or the tire rotation or fix a tire. We pay for it, but they've got to have that initiative to take care of it themselves, because in real life, they're going to have to. They have to keep their house clean. They have to change out their air filters. They have to learn how to save money, because a program requirement is they must save 50% of their money, because they're not paying anything to live with us. They're paying nothing. And so therefore they should save that money so that they can have a strong future, have first and last month's rent when they move out in a year, maybe buy a car if they don't have one, those kind of things. They have to meet with the life coach at least a minimum of weekly. Them and their children have to meet with the counselor at least weekly, and they have to join a support group or a church outside of us to build community. And if they choose not to do those things, then they choose to leave the program, because we're very, very much a program. We're not just a place to live and hang out. We're a place to fix the problem and help you rise up on your own and give you a hand, but not keep you needing that handout. We're giving you a hand up and helping you learn how to survive on your own and become strong and independent.
Definitely. Now, how are you spreading the word about what you've built to help more women? Is there marketing campaigns that you're working on, or how are you getting the word out?
Well, we of course do a lot of networking. We network a lot with businesses. We network with women's groups. We work with other nonprofits that are out there. We do a lot of social media. Are part of a lot of women's and moms groups, and so we just have a lot of connectors that work with us. We have a lot of presence in our website and our social media to help people that maybe didn't connect with us through other nonprofits, such as emergency shelters or food pantries and things of that nature. And then, of course, if you are a mom that is out there, the moms groups are big. They hook us up together, and people call us all the time. And the thing that's really important about us is we have women calling us every day. Last year alone, we helped 309 women that we couldn't place on our property because we have a waiting list of over 30 women. And so we actually spent an hour helping them find another place to go, helping them find free lawyers or sliding scale lawyers, counselors, support groups outside of us, support groups that we offer. We help them file a protective order. We help them know their property rights. We help them, if they haven't left yet, know how to leave on a safe manner and also preserve their independence by keeping their papers and their IDs and their social security cards and their birth certificates for their children, making sure they understand how to leave in a safe manner, and when they leave, how to do so safely. And my commitment is, I own the property personally. I lease it to the nonprofit for $1 a month. And I can say that I would never be able to do this if I hadn't been a successful healthcare entrepreneur. If I had not had a successful healthcare business that I owned, I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't have the money to do this. And so for me, I always want to challenge other entrepreneurs out there to do something special with what they're earning. Um, Not only is it a great tax write-off, I will tell you, yes, I'm a generous person, but there's also some great tax benefits to me in using some of my net income from my healthcare business to alleviate some of the tax burden that I would have from my profits.
Mhm.
Um, and then I have the generosity side. So it's sort of, you get a little bit of both. I don't want to pretend like I'm not getting a benefit from giving charitably, but also there's a portion you give and you don't get back as well.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense for the business structure, like to like see those opportunities, because then it allows you to grow and do more. So tell me a little bit about current challenges. You mentioned one is like you're right now you have a waiting list. Um,
Hmm.
what are some other challenges you're currently faced with in either one or both or all of
Yeah,
them?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Well, the healthcare business has been, very stable. It's named LTCM Consulting. And my little niche is I help little podunk towns, rural towns, with their hospitals and their nursing homes and their assisted livings and things of that nature. And that's been a pretty stable business for me. The nonprofit, again, you have to rely on, you have a lack of control, is what I would say. And so you have to rely on some feelings of others to want to donate and grant you funds. And that is a very vulnerable place to be. And for a person that's run a business and had control, I've had to release a lot of my control to the Lord. You know, me personally, I've had to just give it up to God because I can't control when people feel the desire to make a difference. And so that has been a very huge battle for me. And I think, you know, it's interesting because as business people, you exert control, you learn how to control things, you learn how to control a market, you learn how to go with the ebbs and flows. And with a nonprofit, it's a very different beast. And I will say I have saved hospitals from bankruptcies. I have saved assisted livings from closing down. I have saved a lot of different healthcare facilities. But the hardest thing I've ever done, besides healing from the trauma that I went through, was running a nonprofit. And it's a difficult task. And hence the reason I said, okay, let me at least have a little bit of control. You know, I hate to say it. There's a part of me that's like, you know, God, I'm sorry. I've got to have a little control over here. I'll let you control this over here, but I still feel like I need to try, you know. And so I started that Defining Tomorrow. I partially started it to help Yesterday's Gone, but I also started it because besides just the women's shelter, for me, helping people that have issues. You know, we've all got stuff, you know, and I think for me at 48 years old, when I left my second abusive marriage and I realized I was screwed up, even though I was very successful in the business world, people would have looked at me and thought I had everything. I was a mess personally. And for me, knowing that other people are just as messy as I was and being vulnerable and telling them about my mess and telling them how to fix it is a big deal to me. I think sometimes when people are vulnerable, other people go, oh, well, if she did it, I can do it. And that's a huge passion for me. The other passion is I've been a manager. I have never, just so you know, I have never worked for anybody. I have always been a boss. So I've worked under a board usually, but I've never had a boss. I've always, since I was 24 years old, I have been the manager of a healthcare facility and or a hospital or something. And I had a board to report to, but pretty much I was running the show. And to, you know, to know that you have 500 employees underneath you, you know, that's not that many, but it's a lot for most people. And you start dealing with people that have broken lives and you start seeing that and you compassionately care about that. That's a whole other ball of wax that I don't think most people do. And I can tell you, I probably didn't do the greatest job at it until I went through my abusive situation and learned about emotions and boundaries and, you know, broken trust and betrayal and forgiveness and all these things. And once I learned those things, with Defining Tomorrow, I have created like, how can I teach other people in a self-help way how to deal with those things? But then I've also created what's called Hidden Treasure, Unleashing Remarkable Teams. And it's a workbook for managers to deal with their employees' stuff. And
Mhm.
you know, it's like, you know, there's that show on Apple. I think it's called Severance or something, to where the person goes and they go to work and they get swiped. They can't remember their personal life. And the second they leave work, they get swiped and they can't remember their work life. And it was a horrible existence for these people that were in this Apple television show. And what was interesting to me is I thought, you know what? Most employers wish that they could do that with their employees. They wish they could just shut them off and get their personal life out of their work life. But I'm sorry to say that made those people very depressed. If you could do it, you shouldn't. And we can't do it to this time and day. And what is actually proven is if you don't deal with employees' emotions, you don't deal with the broken trust, you don't deal with the unhealthy work-life balance, you don't deal with the unhealthy boundaries in the workplace, if you don't deal with that, it actually costs your company money. It actually costs you efficiency, and you lose employees and you have turnover, so you spend more money trying to do what you need to do. And so I created a program. It's a 4-week program, and it tells managers, it gives them resources of how to help their employees process and manage their emotions, how to establish healthy boundaries, and how to create a trust-filled workplace. And if for some reason that trust gets broken, because it will, every day there's an opportunity for trust to be broken, how do you rebuild that trust? And it's not as hard as you would think, but you have to be human and you have to know that people have stuff outside of work in order to do it. And that's what the book, Hidden Treasure, Unleashing Remarkable Teams, has to do with. And I don't know, if I hadn't gone through what I went through, if I would be able to tell people about this. I
Mm.
don't know if I would have had the knowledge to help them in this regard. And I'm using it today to help people make their workplace, a better workplace as well.
Oh, that's incredible. I'm excited to check out your book too, because I think that's massive for any business owner out there to really understand and have empathy and compassion for the people that keep their keep their business going, keep the dream alive. And so, oh my gosh, Lori, this has been a great conversation. Thank you for sharing your journey. I have one more question for you, but before we get to that, how can people get connected with you and your company online?
So we have yesterdaysgone.org without an apostrophe and definingtomorrow.org. Those are the two companies that I would love you to check out. Our Hidden Treasures Teams, it's hiddentreasureteams.org, has not come out yet. That book is about to be published, and we'll be marketing that workbook for these businesses that want to help their employees get through, the difficult places they go. So yesterdaysgone.org, definingtomorrow.org, and hiddentreasureteams.com.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing those. And Lori, for our final question today, what is most inspiring to you today?
For me, I would give every penny I had to watch a life transformed, because there is no greater thing than when you see a human do a 180-degree turn and save their life. And I've had the privilege, because all I did was tell God yes. I've had the privilege of watching this on many, many occasions. My first graduate, her name is Melissa. She came to my second graduate's graduation from Yesterday's Gone Women's Shelter. And we were sitting at a table sharing a meal. And I looked to Melissa and I say, Melissa, what would you tell Naomi was the best thing that ever happened to you since you left Yesterday's Gone? And I still get chills right now. I want to cry. She said, the day I paid all my bills on my own was the best day of my life. And I thought, we all gripe about paying our bills. This woman's happy that she can do this. And I just literally just sat there in awe of this woman. And I thought, thank you, God. Just give me one more that I can make this happen with, because this is amazing.
Oh, that is inspiring to me today. So thank you for sharing that. It's been a joy to hear your story. Thanks for being on the show.
No, thank you.